When a taxpayer owes a large sum of money to the IRS, there are options that are available. The IRS Offer in Compromise is a popular program that many have heard about that lets taxpayers settle tax debt for pennies on the dollar. Now, when considering preparing an offer in compromise, the taxpayer can hire an experienced professional or do it him or herself. It can be a complex task for the inexperienced, but with a little help and self-study, you can do it. Hi, I'm Gary, and welcome to TaxBulldog for the best thoughts and ideas for trimming your tax debt. Now, these videos are to help you to help yourself to avoid costly professional fees. If your situation has a level of complexity, then you may want to consult a tax professional. See my video on selecting a tax professional to represent you at this link. These videos will at least give you an introduction of what to expect and to know when someone is just misleading you. Now, before I start, I have to make a few disclosures that are important. For purposes of brevity, I'll list these in the description below. So be sure to read them, as they do contain important information that you will need to know. In these videos, I will make references to links and resources on the web. Often I will display them on the screen, and I'll put them in the description below. If the link is lengthy, I'll just list it in the description below. So let's get down to this subject. In this video, I'm going to talk about whether you need to hire professional help or if you can just do it on your own. There are three things to consider. 1, do you have the time and ability to represent yourself effectively? 2, there's the advantage of hiring a professional. And 3, finding, selecting, and hiring a professional and working with a professional. I would recommend that you obtain our book /IRS Back Taxes at this link. This will help you to follow along in this video series. In this video series, I'm going to follow along with the chapters of our book, excepting the introduction and chapter 1. I reversed those two around. In this video series, I'm calling this chapter, chapter 1. Now, should you do it yourself or hire a professional? In general, negotiating with the IRS is not a magical process where you just throw a number at them and hope they bite. Negotiating with the government is a calculated and strangely impersonal process that assesses your age, your health, your necessary living expenses, and compliance with required current and past tax filings. You should assume there's no sympathy at the IRS regarding your hardships, how or why you got into this predicament, nor is there necessarily any sense of what is perceived as fair play. An IRS decision is based strictly on numbers and nothing but the numbers. Now, no matter what anyone tells you, the rules for applying for tax relief under the Offer in Compromise program are available to anyone. If you have a straightforward case that is completely transparent, you aren't trying to hide anything, and you feel confident about dispensing information sparingly without giving away the farm, then doing it yourself is feasible. Anyone can represent themselves in any matter, whether civil or criminal. It may not always be advised. Hiring representation is recommended if there is any complexity to the case. There are tips, techniques, and caveats to take advantage of, and traps and pitfalls to avoid. Now, if someone tells you the Offer in Compromise is a new and limited time program, that is not true. The IRS Offer in Compromise program has been around since the 1870s, shortly after the Civil War. That is also the time when the tax professional called licensed enrolled agent was created, some 40 years prior to licensed accountants. So the offer program has been around a long time, since the 1870s, and it's not going away anytime soon. It is an effective collection tool for the IRS, but it is advised to not delay and to resolve your case as quickly as possible. It is a dynamic process that can dramatically change at times, which can change what was a good process to something that is less than good for the taxpayer. Now, any appeal to relieve tax debt means you must provide full financial disclosures. Lying or withholding information from the IRS is a felony. If you have been self-employed and you've had significant cash transactions or questionable income, or have hidden offshore or large asset holdings, have participated in activities that might appear fraudulent, or have other issues, then you should get a tax professional or a tax attorney. Now, one caveat is the IRS does not accept offers from those convicted of tax fraud. Now, the first consideration is, do you have the time and ability to represent yourself effectively? If so, are you the kind of person who can pay attention to the details, file all overdue tax returns, and package a detailed offer and compromise application with backup records in a way that will satisfy every single requirement listed by the IRS? No matter how simple your application, if you want to prepare the application yourself, you should assume that the process will be stressful and time-consuming. You will be dealing with IRS notices and communications directly, and there is a possibility you might become intimidated by the IRS and say something that could hurt your negotiating position. IRS correspondence can and does cross-communicate. Multiple notices that appear to conflict and threaten you and can cause confusion and fear if you don't understand what they all mean. Now, the key is not to give the IRS any more information than they need. Do not volunteer anything extra, but do provide everything requested. The other option is to hire someone to help you. Consider that while the costs associated with professional tax help may seem high, it may be cheaper and cost-effective to concentrate on making a living and allow your tax professional to help manage your case. If you decide that you can handle the nuts and bolts preparation of the actual paperwork yourself, it is still a good idea to first obtain strategic advice from a tax professional who is an expert in both bankruptcy and offer and compromise cases, so that you can be sure you consider all options for settling all debts, not just tax debts. Later on, your tax professional can review your do-it-yourself offer and compromise, the Forms 656 and Forms 433 submittals, and supporting documents before you send them to the IRS. They can advise you if there are any glaring omissions or errors, and advise whether your offer appears to be reasonable or too high given your financial condition. Now, the second consideration is the advantage of hiring a professional. Having a tax professional represent you in an offer and compromise application is the least stressful way to get it done. Not only will they take over and be your contact point for the IRS, but phone calls and notices will be sent directly to their office. You will still receive correspondence at your mailing address as listed with the IRS, and that is your right to know of what is proceeding. Now, the secret to working efficiently and to keeping your tax professional's bill as low as possible is to do the following. One is to provide all financial information accurately, completely, and quickly, and respond to all questions promptly. Two, insist that your tax professional use staffers who cost the least amount to prepare the routine and clerical elements of your case. Three, agree on specific tasks that you can do so that you don't have to pay an associate to do them. Four, limit phone calls, and when you do make them, keep them short and to the point and avoid getting sidetracked. Five is insist on monthly statements so that you can monitor any billing surprises. Now, tax consultants generally have the respect of the IRS. Most IRS revenue agents and other IRS staff members prefer to deal with a consultant because it makes their job easier. Consultants already know what the IRS is looking for, will likely make fewer mistakes than you would if you did the work yourself, and can negotiate your case accordingly as they handle your case in a professional manner. The third consideration is finding, selecting, and hiring a professional and working with a professional. There are three categories of tax professionals who can handle your offer and compromise case. You should shop around for candidates who have relevant and current IRS negotiating experience. If they don't have experience with offer and compromise cases, then don't hire them. Only about 15% of all licensed tax professionals will practice in this area of tax law called tax resolution. It's not an easy function to perform. It's challenging. You may have to search a bit to find someone and/or check the links to professional associations that I will list below. Now, enrolled agents, EA, they are usually the most cost-effective option. There are approximately 30,000 EAs in the United States who provide tax advice and preparation services, and a portion of those have experience preparing offer and compromise applications. In complex cases, EAs may work with tax attorneys and CPAs as a team. EAs are highly trained in taxes and must pass difficult testing and a federal background investigation to become qualified. As a general rule, an EA cannot be your representative in tax court, but they are the only tax professionals to actually be licensed by the U.S. Treasury to practice before the IRS. The certified public accountants, known as CPAs, are highly trained in accounting and must pass difficult testing to become qualified. Some contend that CPAs are less assertive with the IRS than EAs and tax attorneys, but it is possible to find CPAs who are well versed in negotiating with the IRS. The cost is about the same as for a tax attorney. Tax attorneys generally handle the state, individual, and business tax planning. Some, but not all, specialize in IRS disputes. If yours is a complex case that has potentially unpredictable or criminal facets to it, you may wish to utilize a tax attorney, as they are the only tax professionals who can communicate with you confidentially under the attorney-client privilege. In contrast, CPAs and EAs can be compelled by the IRS to disclose adverse client information. EAs and CPAs should recognize when there is a criminal facet in the case and refer you to a tax attorney. The EA or CPA may remain active in the case and work under the hire of the attorney to extend the attorney-client privilege to the EA or CPA. You will also come across firms who specialize in offering compromise cases. They are often staffed by a group of tax attorneys, CPAs, and enrolled agents. But you need to do your due diligence and investigate their reputations. Check with the Better Business Bureau. There have been some recent horror stories about offering compromise processing mills who advertised on television and elsewhere. They took client money and delivered very little in return. While they advertise high success rates, that doesn't account for the clients who fell through the cracks due to poor processing procedure. So be careful and interview several professionals before you make a decision and commit any sum of money. Now, for how to find and interview a tax professional, you should look for a practitioner who will give you an honest assessment of your situation. If a practitioner paints a rosy picture before knowing much about your case, that raises a flag. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Finding a tax professional should not be difficult, but you should expect to spend some time interviewing at least 2 or 3 with the targeted questions before you make your choice. To find candidates to interview, ask your own accountant, tax preparer, financial advisor, attorney, or get a personal referral from someone you know. You can also call your local bar association. Visit the websites of National Association of Enrolled Agents or the National Association of Tax Professionals at these links. It's possible you will see internet, television, and mail advertisements about reducing your tax debt. But keep in mind that some of these advertisements are made by lead generation companies who sell your contact information to tax resolution firms. Look for tax resolution firm websites that have office addresses, local daytime telephone numbers, and the names of the principals of the company. Don't let those slick TV and radio ads fool you. To learn more about the truth about tax resolution, check this link. Arrange interviews with tax professionals who have already proven that they've had first-hand experience preparing at least 15 or more offers in compromise and direct experience in negotiating with the IRS. Here are some targeted questions to ask a professional. You may have this list or a note sheet with you to refer to. Ask as many or few questions that make you comfortable. I will also list these in the description below. 1. What are your credentials? If you don't already know them, to represent you, they must be an EA, CPA, or an attorney. 2. How long have you practiced in tax resolution? They should have at least 5 years of experience. 3. What percentage of your work is in tax resolution? I would say at least 25%. More is better. 4. Of the offers that you submit to the IRS, how many are successful? 70% or higher is a good success rate. There are a lot of factors that can affect that. 5. Can I choose which type of offer to submit? The type of offer depends on your specific circumstances. It's not really a choice. Offer types are doubt as to collectability, and that's the most common type. Also, there is doubt as to liability. Basically, you're saying, I don't really owe it, but you need to prove it. Now, there is the effective tax administration, also the hardship offer. Now, 6, how much time can I get to pay an accepted offer? Well, most offers are a cash basis deal. You pay it within 90 days. You can get a maximum of up to 2 years to make monthly payments, but that changes the amount of the offer. Now, 7, does penalty and interest stop while the offer is pending? Basically, no. 8, does any collection action stop while the offer is pending? Yes, it does, after the offer is accepted for processing. 9, if the offer is rejected, what are my options? You can accept the rejection or you can file an appeal. 10, are there any filing fees of an offer? Yes, as of this date, $186 filing fee, which can be waived if you have low income, and a 20% down payment of the offer amount. Now, these are not refundable if your offer is rejected. The down payment will be applied towards the tax debt if the offer is rejected. Now, 11, if my offer is accepted and paid this year, will I get my tax refund next year? Basically, no. The IRS will keep the current tax year's refund when you file in the next year. 12, can my tax refund or past refunds be applied to the offer amount? Basically, no. 13, can my spouse and I file a joint offer? Yes, if your spouse does not have other tax debts that are separate from you. Otherwise, your spouse will have to file an offer of their own, separate from you. 14. What if in a couple of years down the road, I have another tax return balance due and I cannot pay that right away? Well, one of the conditions of the offer is that you are on probation for 5 years. If a balance due is not paid within the time the notices provide, your offer can be reversed and the entire compromised tax debt reinstated, along with penalty and interest that would have accrued. Now, the tax professional's answers to your questions should be clear, to the point, and encompass various strategic options that can solve your tax problem. Steer clear of a consultant who seems more interested in reassuring you than addressing the hard issues of your case. Optimism is good, but blind optimism will hurt you in the long run. Now, ask them for examples of what they have done to successfully process various solutions, such as abatements, bankruptcy options, offer and compromise, and debt restructuring. Have they handled abatements or offer and compromise cases successfully? Do they actively deal with the IRS on a regular basis? If they seem intimidated by the IRS, do not hire them. It doesn't matter that much if they worked inside the IRS at one time. What is more important is their direct experience negotiating with the IRS and as an outside client advocate. If they have experience working inside the IRS, you may want to step back and examine them more carefully, as they may have subconsciously adopted an IRS viewpoint that would prevent them from being an ideal advocate for you. Look for someone with a minimum of 5 years experience and who is truthful about the bad and good regarding the risk and merits of your case. They should have a confident sense of what will likely happen in your specific case. A tax professional can outline the optimum plan of action. It is important to keep a questioning attitude when receiving advice. This doesn't mean you have to be cynical, however. Your hired tax professional should be able to give you good reasons why certain actions are needed. Vague answers aren't acceptable. If you feel the recommended course of action is unnecessarily expensive and ineffective, hire someone else. You're entitled to advice and answers to your questions. You're paying for that. If you feel that the consultant is being condescending, respond with an analytical question. A good professional will be open about his knowledge and will not let ego govern the discussion. But when dealing with the tax consultant, keep in mind that his workload may prevent rapid responses to the IRS agent in charge of your case. This is not good. Some delays are unavoidable, but you must reach an agreement with your tax consultant that your case will be managed according to a schedule with task milestones. There's no reason why this cannot be done. Here are some milestones to look for. Submitting information to the tax professional that was requested. That means you completing any packets or forms that the tax professional needs to start and process your case. Another is preparing that information. There will be some back and forth on this as things have to be clarified. Generally, responses between you and the tax professional should be handled within 10 days to keep things moving. In today's electronic world, it is easy to get information quickly. Another, reviewing the final offer package to be submitted with the tax professional. Another, submitting the offer package to the IRS. Another is receiving a response from the IRS approving the offer, asking for more information, a counterproposal, or rejection of the offer. Sometimes there can be information out there that the taxpayer was not aware of or forgot. That may impact the offer. Some schedule delays are good for you. For example, if you haven't filed past returns and wish to file an offer and compromise, it would be best to delay the offer and compromise application until the delinquent returns are completed and filed. An offer will not proceed or may meet initial processing rejection if any tax returns are unfiled. While this delay is not required, it will make a better quality offer and compromise application, and there is an outside chance that collection activity could be suspended. Now, email is a definite advantage to exchanging information quickly. Emails can be vague and ambiguous, so don't be afraid to ask for clarification if you don't understand something. One caveat is that data exchange in emails is not secure and subject to data theft if it gets intercepted along the electronic highway. To exchange information that is sensitive, such as Social Security numbers and ID numbers, financial accounts, or any identifying information, that should be exchanged via a secure server. Now, I have a secure server through which all sensitive data is exchanged between my clients and I. An alternative secure method of data exchange is the old-fashioned fax machine, many of which are done securely via the website these days. I think the old-style fax machine has passed into antiquity as the 8-track has. Now, a tip is delays should be used as tools to further your case and should not be the result of inaction by you, your consultant, or the IRS. If you sense a delay by your tax professional, verify that the delay is being used as a bona fide tactic and not as a way to ignore needed work. In general, you and your consultant should maintain fast turnaround of paperwork. Answer questions promptly, make continuous telephone contact to verify progress, and, if necessary, volunteer help to the agent in charge of your case. Now, tax consultants are not cheap. Fees can range from $75 to $300 or more per hour, and total costs can range from $2,000 to $10,000 or more if your case is complex. Keep in mind that the cheapest fee is not necessarily the best, nor is the highest. Since most consultants will not offer a flat fee for an offer and compromise case, a budget amount may be discussed, but rarely will it be a not-to-exceed guarantee. Most tax consultants who process these kind of cases will require a retainer to be paid up front. That is common practice. Additional future retainers may be required, but are undeterminable. These kind of cases can and do take twists and turns. That adds to the work required. Results are never guaranteed, as there are many variables in the case beyond the tax professional's control. The tax professionals do try to discover nuances in a case to try and get a good predictability. Tax professionals want to be paid up front to ensure they don't go unpaid for legitimate work performed when a client becomes disillusioned due to complexities discovered in the process. Now, if you find common ground with the tax professional who is accessible and has solid credentials, but you are put off by the fee, talk openly about it. There may be a way to negotiate a fee reduction if you perform some of the work yourself, or you may be able to work out an extended payment plan. Payment plans to the professional may entail some security or pre-authorized periodic payments on a credit or debit card. Tax professionals are more flexible than you may think. It's always a good idea to hire the most competent person you can find and then negotiate fees and payment schedules. Always keep an up-to-date file on billings. Keep track of hourly rates and confirm that, in fact, the hourly billing reflects work done by the consultant and not by an associate. If an associate is to do some of the work, negotiate in advance what his fee will be and keep those charges segregated from the fees of the principal tax professional. Now, there is no doubt this is a difficult time for you. You may feel that you can't afford a tax professional, but in the long run, it could very well be a good investment. And don't forget, even if you decide to do the work yourself, you should consider retaining someone for an hour or two periodically to help guide you with strategic advice and to help you shape the best offer. Now, in summary, 1, you can represent yourself in this process if you have the time and ability. 2, the advantages of hiring a professional is a better process case and avoids the pitfalls and traps. 3, choose a professional carefully and interview several until you find one that is best for you. Now, in the next video to cover Chapter 2, I'm going to talk about hiding from or ignoring the IRS. I'll talk about the consequences and the benefits of being proactive. Now, here are some resources, and I'll put these in the description below. TaxBulldog.com. This is my website with many articles, documents, forms, and other information in regards to dealing with tax collection and audit issues. I try to demystify things. /IRS Back Taxes book. This is a book that I wrote with my co-author, and it's available online at this link. Having this book will help you follow along in this video series. The Tax Bulldog here on YouTube for helpful tax videos. And I'll put a link in the description below. The IRS on YouTube. This is a treasure trove of helpful videos for taxpayers. This is very good information, but do be aware these are brief and they do not give you all the insights and nuances on the topics. In the description below, I will list relative references to the Federal Internal Revenue Code, the U.S. Treasury Regulations, Internal Revenue Manual, and any policies and procedures that may apply. These are not all-inclusive, as there may be circumstances whereas other laws, regulations, policies, and procedures, and court decisions may apply. So in closing, thank you for watching this video. If you liked it and you got some useful information and ideas from it, please give me a like and share it with your family, friends, and colleagues. This is all I do, and I do it well. Please subscribe to see my future videos as I produce them. Be sure to hit that bell icon so you won't miss out on any new information. Please leave your comments below. I can answer general questions here, but for specifics, please contact me at TaxBulldog.com. Thank you.